What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. Before I get into the subject matter at hand, I'd like to remind you guys, if you want to donate to this channel, want to show love to Too Raw for TV, I'll put a link in the description box where you can donate to this channel if you choose to. Now, let's talk about the 2019 NBA Finals, which, of course, will feature the upstart Toronto Raptors and the heavily favored Golden State Warriors. Of course, the Golden State Warriors are the two-time defending champions, going for the three-peat. They've won, of course, 3 championships in the last 4 years, and if they win a championship this year, this would be their fourth in 5 years, and that would officially, in my book, be a dynasty. Um, of course, they do not have Kevin Durant as well as DeMarcus Cousins. Last I saw, DeMarcus Cousins is questionable for Game 1. I get the impression he probably won't play, probably due to team chemistry issues. Durant most likely will play sometime in this series. I think he definitely will play by Game 3, barring re-aggravation of his injury. I think he will definitely play by Game 3, uh, in my opinion. Toronto Raptors, of course, beat the favorite Milwaukee Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals in 6 games. And Kawhi Leonard and the Toronto Raptors have been very impressive. Uh, Kawhi Leonard has all of a sudden uh, been seen by some as the best player in the NBA. I think that he is possibly the best overall player in the NBA. Although I think Kevin Durant is the most dynamic and probably the most dominant player in the NBA. Um, as far as how this series is going to go, I think the Golden State Warriors are going to win this. Okay, I could be wrong. I thought Milwaukee was going to beat Toronto in 6. That didn't happen. In fact, it was Toronto that beat Milwaukee in 6. I do hear this narrative out here about how many people have the Toronto Raptors winning Game 1 due to the fact that uh, while Golden State is the most rested team, perhaps they've had too much rest and they're going to be rusty, and it's going to hurt them entering Game 1, while Toronto has had some rest, but they're not too far off from playing the game and won't hurt chemistry and whatever. That's not necessarily always the case, though. I mentioned this in a video maybe last week, but I distinctly remember the 1998 playoffs, right? I remember watching every playoff game vividly that year. I knew it was the Bulls' last run. I was savoring it. I remember the Utah Jazz. They played Los Angeles Lakers in the Western Conference Finals. A lot of people thought that might be the Lakers' year. Remember the year prior to that was Kobe shooting the air balls in Utah, whatever. Um, they thought maybe this was going to be the Lakers' year. Maybe Shaq and company were going to be able to get to the finals again. Maybe Shaq's going to make, at that time, his second appearance in the finals. Okay. Utah went on to sweep the Utah Jazz. Excuse me. Utah went on to sweep the Los Angeles Lakers in that series. They swept them. And I would think the Lakers were a better opponent than the Portland Trailblazers for this year, for the Warriors. And meanwhile, the Chicago Bulls fought tooth and nail against the Indiana Pacers in a series that went 7 games. And in the first quarter of that game, it looked like we were looking at an upset. I think at one point, the Pacers was up 21 or 23-7 against the Chicago Bulls. The Chicago Bull fans were panicking. The Bulls eked it out like 87-83 or 88-83 or something like that. But many people thought the Bulls' run would end. And it looked like that way because, especially because the Bulls lost Game 1 against the Utah Jazz. Now, mind you, the difference is Utah had home court advantage due to the fact that they won the season series. They had the same record, 62-20. But they won the first game. So too much rest wasn't a factor in that scenario. Both teams were pretty old, so age wasn't really a factor. They were two oldest teams in the NBA along with the Houston Rockets. So age wasn't really the problem. So I don't know. I think because of the fact that the Warriors, two guys are most they're scorers, but there's also shooters. So rhythm would be very important to these guys. So maybe being off that long can affect their rhythm. So maybe that would be more of a factor. Um, I expect, in my opinion, unless Curry and Thompson are both off, I expect a close game or a reasonably close game. I think there's going to be a Warrior run in there somewhere. But I think the Toronto Raptors are pumped up to play this game. I think they're going to win game one, but I don't expect a blowout. Um, Game two is going to be iffy. Game two is the game that I'm really on the fence about. I think the Warriors are going to win game two, but I'm not 100% certain about that. But I'm just going to go ahead and say I think the Warriors are going to win game two. I think Kevin Durant comes back for game three. I think they win games three. I think they win games four. I think they take a 3-1 series lead. All right. I think Toronto win games five. Then I think the Warriors wrap the series up in six. So I'm taking Warriors in six to win this series. For a minute, when I was thinking about this series, right, I forgot that a couple of years ago, the NBA switched back from the 2-3-2 format to the 2-2-1-1-1-1 format. It used to be the team with home court advantage had the first two games, then it switched it so that three consecutive games were played at the road team with the team that doesn't have home court, and then the last two were for home court. The team with home court advantage, 2-3-2. And they did that, I think, starting in '85, I think it was, to accommodate to the press because the NBA had grown so much exponentially due to the growth with Dr. J and Bird and Magic, really Bird and Magic, that the press needed time to prepare for travel. So to lessen the amount of travel, they made it 2-3-2. But now with today's technology, internet and all that, emailing, fucking teleporting, holograms and shit, they don't need that anymore. But I think the Raptors, they're gonna try really hard, man. But I just think that too much will be demanded upon Kawhi Leonard in this series. Like, not only does Kawhi have to play well, he has to play well in this series. Certain guys for the Raptors have to step up. Danny Green has had an awful playoffs for him and an abysmal series, the last series against Milwaukee Bucks, but they able to get away with that because they were able to severely neutralize and in some cases shut down Giannis Antetokounmpo. In this series, though, Kawhi is going to need help. He's going to have to score his 30 points, but he's still going to need some help. Danny Green is going to have to be a big factor. I think Danny Green finally breaks out to have a good game. He has a good game. I remember back in 2014, I think it was, Danny Green was on fire in that finals. Like, I mean, I want to say he shot like 70% from threes or something in that series. I don't know. But Danny Green's got to step up. Kyle Lowry is not going to win that matchup like he did against Eric Bledsoe, against Stephen Curry. It's not going to happen. Kyle Lowry just has to play well. To me, Kyle Lowry just has to average 15 points and maybe 8 or 9 assists. Or 8 assists. I'll just say 8 assists. If he can put up numbers like that, play reasonably good defense, that's cool. Serge Ibaka has to play well. Marc Gasol, if he plays whatever minutes he does play in the series, has to be able to hit his shots. The role players have to be able to hit their shots. Toronto has to be able to hit their outside shots in this series, the perimeter shots. They have to play very good team defense, and they got to try their best to contain the Golden State Warriors offensively, slow the pace down in this series. For the Warriors, they just have to play well. They just have to play their game, and Curry has to play like an MVP. I looked at the video that Town Biz made. I do agree that Curry wants to win the Finals MVP. That's the one thing that's been eluding him, and I think he wants that Finals MVP. I expect Curry to average over 30 points per game in this series, especially in the games that Durant doesn't play. There's also a chance too, man. I don't think nobody's really talked about this, but I do believe Kevin Durant's going to come back. There's an outside shot that with Durant coming back after so many games with him not being in the lineup, it could kind of fucked up the offense a little bit. Not for maybe a whole game, but it could fuck a game up. Like if Durant comes back in game 3, it might ruin the chemistry that they've had for so long playing, Splash Brothers basketball, what they originally played, reverting back to kind of Durant. I don't know. It depends on how Durant come back. He might be kind of, passive offensively to an extent. I know he's going to come back, but I'm wondering how he's going to play. Like, is he going to be more of a spot up shooter type role? Working his way back in. How well does he feel physically? I do worry about I have a slight worry about the Warriors as far as their chemistry is concerned in the first game he comes back. But all in all, I think that the Raptors lose this series. All right. But it's a major accomplishment for Kawhi and the Toronto Raptors to make it to the finals. If they were somehow able to win this series, if they were able to win the first 2 games, right, and maybe miraculously still a game in Golden State and win that game on their, maybe even on the road or win it in game, whatever. If they're able to win this series, that would be a remarkable accomplishment for this franchise. And you would think that if they won a championship, Kawhi might have some second thoughts about leaving. Maybe. But that's it. I think the Warriors are going to win this series. I think they're going to win it in 6. Tell me what you guys think.